Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming, and this is another horrible game review. Before we get into it, as usual, we do our disclaimers. Number one, I am not very good at this, and I don't get paid for it yet, so it might be a little bit janky. You might hear my kid in the background, my dog. I'm a house dad, so not going to go back and edit it. I think everybody out there likes the honest and raw, unedited version of it. Number two, I do not give out scored reviews. I don't believe in them for video games because I think it's one of the most subjective forms of art. So what I'm going to give you is an overview of the game. Then I'm going to give you the pros and the cons from my point of view, as all reviews are. And then I'm going to tell you whether or not I'm going to stick with it after the content of this review. And then finally, I only get a few hours with this game. 4 to 10 usually. Sometimes I get a little bit more, sometimes I get a little bit less, but this is kind of an everyman's first glance at the game. If you want a super in-depth review, you should seek a review from another medium. So let's get into it. Our review today is 2 Point Hospital, a strange kind of mock hospital simulator from Sega. This game went into Games Pass as this is uploaded probably 2 weeks ago. Not gonna lie, I really wanted to do this one right away, but Yakuza 0 is a more popular title, so I thought I'd do that one first for you guys. So this game, basically what you do is you manage and build up a hospital. You build the rooms inside it, you build the facilities inside it, you hire staff, you set that staff to tasks, and then your staff just kind of like automatically cures patients. It's very in the vein of like a Sim City or Sims sort of play style. What's interesting about it is it has this kind of sense of humor through the whole thing. You're not curing real illnesses, which keeps it a little bit more lighthearted. So you're not curing cancer, you're not taking care of like hearts. You get weird diseases like a psychiatric disease, Mockstar, where everybody thinks they're a rock star, or Pandemic, where everybody has pan stuck on their head. The idea, of course, being behind the game is that you have to set up the right facilities to cure these patients as they come through the door. As the game goes on, your hospital will grow, but you'll get more and more diseases that affect more and more people. You'll discover more of them, and you'll have to find new ways to combat them. You can also pause or change the speed of how the days progress from fast to medium to slow. And you can also pause, like I said, and do everything you can do in the pause menu, which is nice. You're not against a clock at all. You just make sure you pause it, and then you can build whatever room you were going to build, and then unpause it when you're nice and done. Each room or facility that you need to build requires you to build a couple of items on the inside, and then there's a host of optional items to put in that can boost the room statistics, the overall hospital statistics, or just be a good precaution, such as fire extinguishers. The goal of the game is to make your hospital more and more popular. You have 0 to 3 stars. 3 stars being the best hospital there is, 0 being just starting out. As you build more facilities, as you treat more patients, as you hire more doctors, your star rating will go up. However, the trick is that you have a certain amount of money to start, and that money slowly dwindles down. Plus, you have to pay your staff, and you have to give them raises. It's surprisingly in-depth for how jokey the feel of the game is.
I'm here to inform.
You can, of course, take out loans, which is even more interesting, but taking out loans means you have to pay those loans back, so it adds to your cost on the overall whole. So you have to weigh the purchasing, getting the loan and purchasing the facility that you want to get with it, with the amount that it's going to bring you in. And while on the surface the game seems very simple, it is actually very complex. But at the same time, it's very intuitive. It takes its time teaching you how to play the game, and it shows you each step as you go along. There's also a feature at the end of each calendar year in the game, which expires depending on how fast you run through the speed. There is a Hospital of the Year awards where there's like 8 categories: Doctor of the Year, Janitor of the Year, Assistant of the Year, People's Choice Hospital of the Year. And each one of those your hospital manages to win gains you some extra cash, which was a really nice touch, I thought. The UI is surprisingly uncomplicated as well. With games like this, simulator games, I usually find when it transfers from a PC, which is, your mouse and keyboard, to the controller, it has a hard time figuring out how to make make the commands that on a computer you had, 50, 75 buttons to do into like the 10 that are on a controller. Usually it's kind of herky-jerky. This one is surprisingly smooth. It's very easy to understand what button does what, and there are very clear prompts on the screen to tell you how to get where you need to get, which is nice. I only remember one situation in which I couldn't figure out how to look at a certain thing. And that was, and honestly, once I figured that out, I felt stupid for not even trying to move it back and forth. So that's nice. But that's kind of the overview. It's a simple game. It's a simple idea. Run a hospital, run it well, make money off the hospital. So let's go into the pros and cons. So pros. I like to go positive first. And, this game's got a lot of positive. I really enjoyed my time with this game. First pro is the attention to detail on this game is stunning. And I'm not talking about like graphics. I'm talking about the little things. Like, it would be very easy in a game like this to have sick people just have a sick bubble over their head and healthy people to just be healthy. With this, the disease itself, whatever disease a patient is suffering from, manifests on the character itself. So the pandemic characters who have pans stuck to their head, they have pans stuck to their head. You can look at them, you can zoom in on them and watch them walk around with pans on their head. One of my more enjoyable ones is this game actually touches on psychiatrics too, which is interesting to me, that they would kind of go that way as well. But the first psychiatric disease I got was Mockstar, where everybody thought they were a rock star. Well, those characters come in dressed like a rock star, dancing and singing in the aisles. And like stuff like that is just really cool. It's really cool to see that come off, and they didn't need to do that. It's not anything but an aesthetic choice, but it really helps bring you into the game. In addition to that, they have this just constant radio station playing in the background that's obviously supposed to be like a hospital radio parody thing, with actual DJs just making jokes at themselves and their own expenses while they play their smooth jazz hits. I found that funny and hilarious. There's no shortage of chuckles in this game, and the DJ music thing was a real nice touch to me. This feeds into my next pro, which is the humor. If you had pitched to me, this is a simulation game about running a hospital, and it's funny, I would have looked at you like you're crazy. I can't think of a more depressing place to be as a hospital. But the way they kind of flip it on their head, and they make all the diseases kind of like funny and cute, and they make all of the kind of hospital mentality of like making money off the sick people, they make those jokes through the whole thing. They do a really good job. There's never a time when I'm not like chuckling to myself at something that I find, whether it be the machine in which they take the pandemic pan off their head, which is just this big grabby arm that just shakes them around until they fall out of the pan, or it's the way that a maintenance worker upgrades a machine by just banging on it with a wrench for an hour and a half. I really enjoy that stuff, and this game manages to be funny, and games have a hard time being funny because they're so subjective, but it's chuckle-worthy the entire time. My next pro I kind of covered in the overview, which is the ease of access to this game is startling. I played Civilization 6, I've played a couple of other simulatory games like this, and there's always this learning curve to figuring out where the buttons are, and how do I do this, and what does this mean, and what do these stats mean. Civilization 6 was no slouch in the confusing me department. If I recall correctly, that was one of my biggest cons for it. This game doesn't have that. It is really straightforward and easy, while still somehow having all the complication and nuances of a simulation game that would keep a veteran pro in there. I found this game, I know it's a simple little funny game, but I found it really interesting how in-depth the stats and the hiring. An example, at one point, all my doctors were just gone, and I couldn't figure out why they were gone. Like, they just weren't at their posts. And I went into a staffing menu, which was relatively easy to find, and found out they went on vacation. Your characters actually take vacations in this. Like, that's how simulatory this is. It's very well done, how they do the qualifications. It's one of those simple to play, really tough to master, and that's a tough recipe to get right. And this game does, it really does. Alright, let's just switch to cons. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really having a hard time finding any cons to this game. I mean, this game is niche, obviously. There are plenty of people out there who will take one look at this and go, this game isn't for me. And I get that. But for what it is, it tends to almost do it perfectly. I guess my only con would be, and I don't know if you don't unlock this later in the game or not, but I would love a mode where you can just build the hospital from scratch and have it procedurally generate everything. This one, while there's plenty of procedural generation in it, you can tell, this one tends to, you have one area that's your easy area, your easy hospital to start, and then that teaches you all your basics. Then there's a more advanced one that teaches you more of them, and you kind of move to the hospitals as you go along. I'd kind of really like just a free play mode where it's just here's a plot, build the hospital from the ground up, and run it the way you want, which would be a lot of fun. Again, I have only gotten about 6 hours with this game. A mode like that might be the end game of this. If you get through all the other areas, there might be another menu that I haven't quite found yet, so that con might be out the window. Nonetheless, yeah. So let's go to whether or not I'm going to continue to play this game. Emphatically yes. It might just be because every so often I get bored of just the constant expenditure of ammo and swinging of swords that most gaming is, and sometimes I need to decompress from the violence with just a fun nothing game. Like, I think Welcome to Portia was one of mine, where it's just like, I just want to farm for 2 hours and not, think about saving the world or murdering a bunch of people. Don't get me wrong, love that in gaming, but it's nice to decompress, and I think maybe I was a little blown out on all the other games, that this might have heightened the experience of this game for me. But I really like this game. I'm definitely going to go back to this game. It caught me, and I've been thinking about playing it since I started it, which, happens to me rarely. So I definitely will be going back to this. We'll have to see how long I go back to this, but I do truly enjoy this game. This is a real gem in the simulation area, I think. And if you're looking for a game that's kind of a sim game, but it's still got the jokes and it's still got some fun and pep to it, it's not hyper violent. I think this is worth checking out, and it's in Games Pass for free. So that brings us to the end of the review. I'm Old Man Gaming. We offer you tons of stuff. Check out everything our channel has to offer. Our shows have become too numerous to name all of them, but you can check back here every Monday for the reviews, and every other day of the week we've got a show coming out, so check those out as well. We also have a Discord. I will put that in the details below. Please join. You can chat with me and the rest of the Foundation 4 from the Old Man Gaming channel. We help with Borderlands stuff. You can also help pick the next review, and you can get involved in our podcast arena stuff. And you can just talk to us. We like to talk to you guys. You can follow us on Facebook at Old Man Gaming DH, Twitter at Old Man Gaming 9. Though, fair warning, I'm an old dude and still having a hard time figuring out Twitter. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening to this, we will keep making them. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week when I finally get to do State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition. Till then.
Experienced palate this is. The scrambled emu eggs on pickled toast are particularly